Alright, we're back. We're back on the road and we're back doing updates. Apology for the hiatus of a couple of days. I'm sure there was many thousands of you frantically refreshing your YouTube feed waiting for a video. But yeah, a couple of days off from the videos. I'll get into bringing everyone up to speed on the last few days. It can only be described as a whirlwind weekend for Western Sydney 70.3. Well worth it in the end, but yeah, it was a little bit slack in actually getting in front of the camera and recording daily updates. Also, quick note to anyone who is watching and watching regularly, thank you. I hope you're getting something out of them. It's fun for me to do them actually. I found a little bit of a groove, but if there's other people benefiting, that's even better. Hopefully finding it interesting, relatable, or and potentially learning a thing or two. So there's been a few developments since my last update, which was Friday afternoon. Not least was an illness of Oakley's that I alluded to. Turned out to be croup, which is an upper respiratory condition, or I think it's an infection maybe. So for adults it would just mean loss of voice, croaky voice, just feeling a little bit flat and under the weather. But for infants it takes on a little bit more meaning, in so much that it blocks their airways, because everything in that region of their body is a little bit smaller, and so it sort of can block their airways, so they have difficulty breathing, especially lying down, so therefore sleeping becomes a problem. But also for Oakley, it's his first illness, so he doesn't really know what's going on or why he feels that way. And then when he tries to talk or chat to us, his voice is a bit croaky, and obviously he was all a bit blocked up. So we realised that he was a bit out of sorts when he woke up Friday evening after being asleep for a couple of hours. So this is his overnight sleep. So we were about to go to bed, and we had to basically head off to the hospital. Luckily it was within walking distance to the hotel. So we got there, but we were arriving around 9:30 at night, and we were there for a good few hours. So it was a long day for everyone, but we got him diagnosed. We got an action plan in place, and he's been on the mend ever since, which is great. But what it meant was a really long day. The drive was alright, and then I had to navigate Sydney traffic at the end, pick them up from the airport and get to the hotel. But anyone who's driven into Sydney will know what I'm talking about there. But that was alright. But then we were off to the hospital. It meant we had a broken and short sleep. So Saturday I woke up feeling a little bit sorry for myself, but that was okay. By Saturday afternoon I was well and truly stuffed. Got to spend the whole morning with the guys setting up for race day, doing their last prep, getting down to race venues, setting up the tent, all of those things. So early to bed on Saturday, and early rise for Sunday, which was a full day on race site. Obviously all the guys raced, went really well, motivating us and inspiring as always. A couple of really good outcomes, a couple of really good solid race performances, which was really good to see. And then today, again, driving all day. So a busy 4 days, long 4 days. It's busy and hectic on paper, but the actual reality was even more so. And there was obviously a few curveballs in there. Today I've got a bit of a blocked nose and an awareness in my throat. It's what I'd call probably mild head cold. It's probably a compounding effect of everything we've talked about so far. Not only am I out of routine, big long days, not eating what I normally eat, not sleeping what I normally sleep, in the aircon all day in the cars, and then also blasting the aircon in the hotel room as well, but also having a sick little boy in the room, probably sharing some germs and symptoms. So just got to take it easy, get back on top of that, and get that sorted. But definitely raised some, I guess, reminders for me, which I would then pass on to anyone else, that when you're travelling, as much as you've got to be planned and organised and eat as closely to your normal routine as possible and as close to normal foods as possible. In some ways you've just got to roll with it, but just make the best of any given situation. But travel does throw up these extra challenges and stresses, which obviously I knew knew about. I knew I was travelling 1 week out from a race, but I wouldn't have it any other way, apart from obviously Oakley being unwell. So training, ironically, has probably been the lowest overall physical load for 3 days, potentially ever, and that was partly because of the big long days, but also the curveballs and the fact that I'm now feeling a little bit under the weather. Energy levels are good. Last couple of nights of sleep have been good and helped me sort of catch back up. But obviously, the body's telling me it's got a cold, which is just probably because just a little bit too much overall stress. But as we know, stress is stress. So the physical load was low, but there was all these other things going on, and left me feeling the way I feel. I have no doubt I'll be fine for Sunday, but it really emphasises that race week is about getting to Sunday in the best possible shape, and that certainly doesn't mean doing nothing, but it does mean being pragmatic. So all I did on Friday night was a bit of mobility. I've done some mobility this morning. I've run Sunday and Saturday, but Saturdays was just a very cruisy jog with a couple of variations in intensity. Certainly a practice what you preach moment. I did not feel like doing anything, but I knew I would feel much better having done something. I managed to get outside, jog down to a local oval, do a few laps, a little bit of variation, did the trick just before dinner, and then had some good food and an early night. And then yesterday I just ran on course with another one of the guys supporting, went out and ran out and back along the bike course, very, very low intensity, but just moving, giving them some support, making me feel a bit better. And then tonight I'd like to do something, whether it's just a bit more mobility and activation, or whether I can get on the bike and just spin. The idea about tonight will be to combat the effects of sitting in the car all day, but also help me prep for tomorrow and the rest of the week. At this stage the plan is to do a ride tomorrow, get out on the race bike, check out all the race wheels, make sure the brakes aren't rubbing, check through the gears, get in race position and just ride a bike. A little bit of variation intensity, but for the most part it's going to be lower intensity, just continued aerobic development, which I've talked about before, and I'll do a little jog as well. Later tomorrow I'll also pack up the bike. At this stage the plan for Wednesday is to get up and take swim squat as per a normal Wednesday, then have another swim, again some variation in intensity, but largely with aerobic undertones, not doing anything too crazy. And then it'll be on the flight and then drive down to Busso. Hopefully by mid-afternoon it'll be actually early evening, can unpack, maybe do a little spin as a bit of a shakeout, and again to combat the travel and the air travel, if I can. And it'll also mean that I've got a high frequency of cycling this weekend, because this weekend I obviously had very little cycling. That'll just make me feel better emotionally more than anything else, but it won't take any toll physically. It also means I can check the bike over and make sure that it's all good after being in a bike bag and thrown about by the baggage handlers. Thursday I'll do a more significant ride, probably maximum 90 minutes, a bit of a feel-good ride. Hopefully by then the cold symptoms are gone and I can throw in a bit of intensity. Nothing too drastic, but I do like to keep the variation up. It's good for you. It also opens up all the pathways and systems. So body to brain, neurological, brain to body, I should say, neurological. Also cardiovascular, heart and lungs. Get them going. Wake them back up, because it'll be nearly a week since I've done any sort of intensity. So I don't want to wake up that, and then obviously muscularly as well, same thing. And then Friday, much the same, but this time in the water. Get the wetsuit on, make sure that's all good to go, get in the open water, and enjoy a nice swim with 30 to 40 minutes, a couple of Ks. I'll also do some Pilates, because I always feel good after Pilates, and I typically do that on Friday as well. Saturday I'll spin. That won't be long at all. That'll be a feel-good spin. Last check of the bike before it gets checked in, and then it's get everything organised for race day on Sunday. Race day Sunday, obviously, nice big brick session, full race setup, and hopefully put together a really solid, well-rounded, well-executed race day. I'm a happy man come late morning Sunday, but that's well ahead of us, one step at a time, one day at a time. So that routine, although slightly modified, because I've got to just take note of what the body's telling me, which is it's got a bit of a head cold as a result of a really busy week, really lots of stress coming from other areas outside of training. That's very similar to my typical week, if I have one of those. So that flow and rhythm is really useful for race week. It helps you set up a good race week. There's enough in there to keep the body going, but also should be able to freshen up. Not a fan of the word taper. Don't really think a taper is necessary if you handle your load well in training. Up until and including race week, you just need a few days to help freshen up, but you certainly need to be keeping the body moving, like having 2 or 3 days off before a race, especially if you train fairly consistently. I don't think you're doing yourself any favours. We train and coach in a way that means that you're not sort of digging yourself into a hole over many, many weeks and then having to dig out of that in the final week or two, and hope to be ready to go come race day. So it's all planned and organised well in advance, obviously, and then just modified as per everyone else for individual circumstances, which for me included travel this weekend, and as life often does, had a few curveballs. So you're up to date.